Waiting on, there I am. Hello, folks. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Tennessee. Now I'm gone. There I am. Good evening, folks. Sorry, a few minutes late. Popping on here. Had some internet trouble, and then Stephanie actually has to hit the button on her end for me to get on here. But anyways, folks, we do thank you for joining us tonight on this special edition of the Tennessee Thunder Podcast. We greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. We've got a lot of information to go over. We're going to try to cover several things from county commission meetings to board meetings to upcoming things we've got going on, and just a lot of things happening in Union County. But first and foremost, I do want to thank you for joining us once again on this Tennessee Thunder podcast. And remember to like, share, comment. We appreciate that. Ask your questions at any time and get my other phone here up and running so I can see your comments and that kind of thing on the other end. Remember to like us and watch us on YouTube and Facebook and X and Rumble. Rumble's our newest addition, and I'm hearing we getting a lots of views and all that kind of good stuff on Rumble. So that's awesome. They're not apparently as restrictive as some of these other ones are. But absolutely, check us out on any of those. I know last week, people already messaging me about stuff going on that we're going to cover tonight on the podcast. I think that's hilarious. But all right, come on here. Don't want to cooperate. But Rumble is our newest. There we go. Oh, let me turn that down there. We're a little delayed, but there we go. All right. Miss Schrader, good to see you. Good meeting you the other night at the meeting, live and in person. So that's again, folks, remember to like, share, comment. We appreciate it. And with that being said, let's just jump right in. First and foremost, I done said that, so I guess second and foremost, I want to send out our prayers and our get wells. Those of you that have not heard, one of the Maynardville city police officers did a traffic stop. I know Ty Blakely did a little video on 2 days ago, I guess it was a couple days ago. But we did have a city Maynardville police officer that did a traffic stop, and during the search of the vehicle after an arrest, that officer found some heroin laced with fentanyl, and when he found it, he placed it on top of the vehicle, my understanding, and just that little bit. That's how dangerous this fentanyl stuff is, folks. Just that little bit. Just taking the bag from wherever he found it and sitting it on top of the car. That little poof out of the plastic bag or whatever it was in, just by sitting it on top of that car, got into that police officer's system. From my source, it says that he started feeling kind of tingly, and he knew something wasn't right. And so he radioed. He did have a deputy that was his backup, and that deputy was transporting the prisoner to the jail. But the city police officer had enough, you know, knowing about his own body, knew something was wrong, radioed for help, and that deputy that was backing him up got back to him as quickly as he could. And let me tell you, folks, this officer was Narcaned several times. It's dangerous drug. Fentanyl is, and he did have to go to the hospital and all that, but he is at home, my understanding, and is doing a lot better. But folks, that could have turned deadly quickly. And if it wasn't for the Narcan, if it wasn't for the deputy getting to him quickly, and it wasn't for EMS getting to him quickly, it could have been a tragic turn, folks. And so I would agree with Mayor Blakely, as he said on his video the other night. This country needs to do something about these drugs coming manufactured in China, coming over our border, southern border, and probably the northern border, and every other which way they can. But right now, the main way it's getting here is from the southern border. There's very little that our federal government's doing to stop it. Obviously, and we see all the things in the news and all that kind of stuff. Our federal government needs to do a better job of protecting the citizens of this country and stop worrying about citizens of other countries and putting them first before us. And I agree with Mayor Ty Blakely 1,000,000% on what he said. Excuse me. With what he said in his video. And if you didn't see his video, I encourage you to go back and watch it. It's just a little over 3 minutes long, I believe, but basically tells you the same information I just said. But he's very angry, and very rightfully so, as every other citizen of this nation, of this county, uh, of this country, of the state. Everybody should be angry about our federal government failing to do its job and protecting the citizens of the United States of America. And that's I'm just so happy, and I thank God that that situation in Manorville with the city of Manorville police officer did not turn deadly, and it very well could have. And and it just happened just like that, just that quick, just by taking the little baggie out of a vehicle and placed it on top of the vehicle. That's as fast as it got to him. He didn't, ingest it, and he didn't take it. He did. I mean, it was just a little poof by sitting it on top of the vehicle, and he went down quickly. So keep him and his family in your prayers. Keep all the law enforcement officers here in Union County and the city of Manorville, and not only those, but the constables and across the entire state and across the whole United States in your prayers. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too. It's a very sad time we live in when something like that happens so close to home, and and unfortunately, it's happening more and more. Um, so that's my soapbox on that one. Um, all right. With that being said, Stephanie, I think, will be joining us at some point. I know she's on here because she had to let me in. But there she is.
Hey guys, I was just letting you talk and do all the announcements, and then I'll talk back or talk with you.
All right. Anyways, folks, upcoming events. We don't have our February schedule out yet. I guess we're lacking in that area. We haven't made our schedule yet, Stephanie. But let me look up the mayor real quick, and I'll give you the upcoming February meetings. Give me just a second here. Normally I have this already and ready to go, but I, unfortunately, like I said, had some internet issues, and I think I actually got backstage on here like 2 minutes after, and this thing goes live right at 8 o'clock, whether we're ready or not.
For everybody that is being very patient with us, and I appreciate you all being patient with us because we're learning all the technicals of running a podcast. And as you can see, we have upgraded our podcast software. We've got streaming software that we're learning. So when I put his face up and I'm talking or something crazy, vice versa, just bear with me because I'm learning all these little buttons and things. And it takes me about an hour, sometimes longer, just to set up for a podcast. So it's been extremely challenging to get everything working the correct way.
All right. Good to see you on here, Miss England. Hope you're feeling better. I know you didn't make it to the meeting because you were feeling a little bad. So we missed you and hope you're feeling better there, Miss England. All right. Upcoming meetings. You just missed the jail committee and county commission workshop. That was on the 1st. I did attend that, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. On February the 20th, we got the budget and finance committee meeting. That's at 6 and 6:30. On the 26th is planning county commission workshop, and that will be involving the RV campsite / whatever that they're proposing. We will talk about that a little bit tonight. I do actually have some information on there that the mayor was gracious enough to give me. So let's see. Planning Commission is going to follow that meeting at 6 o'clock on the 26th. And then County Commission will also meet on the 26th starting at 7. All those in the large courtroom. And so be there if you can. We need people to start showing up because we got some things that are coming down. Let me tell you, we've got all kinds of things that you need to be aware of. And you ever heard that saying, there's something rotten in Denmark? Well, there's something rotten in Union County, and I believe it's getting ready to hit the fan. And I'm not picking on any certain person or whatever because I'm still investigating a lot of stuff. But stay with us on the podcast tonight, and you will actually see some of the things that are going to make your head spin and going to make you say, what in the world? And probably cuss a little bit if it was anything like I did when I heard some of this stuff. But I am following up on a lot of things, but we are going to talk about a lot of those also tonight, and we'll probably talk about it for a few podcasts to come, just because it's a fluid, if you want to call it an investigation or whatever you want to call it by me. But I've been digging, folks, and I'm not liking a lot of things that I've been finding. And actually, to be honest with you, some of the commissioners that I've been talking to that have been hearing about some of this stuff ain't too happy about it either. So stay tuned through the podcast, and we'll get to that. But first thing on my list to talk about is I want to invite you, and Stephanie, you can jump in here anytime you want, but I want to invite you this coming Tuesday. We're going back to Nashville to talk to these senators and House members of Tennessee, and we want to talk to them and find out what's going on with this school choice law. And it leaked. The actual law leaked for like 5 minutes and then was gone. They pulled it back just as fast as they released it the other day. So I have not been able to get my hands on it. But we are going on Tuesday. So if you are able to and just want to come on and take a ride with us, we do have a bus. We were going with AFP again. We'll meet at the Halls Food City and go to Nashville. All expenses paid. You don't have to bring any money. You don't have to, pay for gas. You don't have to pay for the bus. You don't have to pay for food. They supply lunch, and last time they bought us some snacks on the way and all that kind of stuff. So, and it was awesome to see the Capitol building and go to the offices over there and all that kind of good stuff. Exciting adventure if you can go. So come on down. We're going to go down there and find out what we can about this school choice stuff. What say you, Stephanie?
Well, let me say that we work with various conservative groups. We had a variety of people that rode on the bus with us down there last month on January the 6th. And we did not get to see the wording of the bill because it had not been released to the public. Apparently, there has been a little sneakeroo previews leaked out, and that's what we're interested in, to see what kind of strings, if any, are attached to this bill. And one of the things that we have made very clear is that we will support school choice or freedom of education as long as there's not strings attached, similar to what happens with our federal government. So the homeschool folks, we've got several of them coming on our podcast. They're going to voice their concerns. Actually, I'm interviewing one of the leaders in the homeschool movement tomorrow. It will not be podcast till next week, but we will be hearing their concerns directly about any possible strings that they're concerned about. Now, the good news is, because we're early in the process and the legislation is in committee, it has to go through like 5 or 6 different committees, folks, before it can actually go to the House floor for a vote. So we the people, have basically a voice in how this thing is put together. And if you're a school teacher and you want to know how this is going to look for you, there are some wonderful things that's happening as far as educators goes, that a lot of people unfortunately have just closed their eyes and they don't want to see it because they're afraid. I would advise anyone that is concerned about the future of public education in this country, we know that we have failing schools, that you be involved in this. This is one of the most, most important times in our nation's history to have an impact yourself in these legislation that come about here. Well, they've got a lot of things happening and cooking this year that is going to be huge. It's going to be huge for the citizens and we the people. And you all need to, if you can, I know a lot of you all work and can't go during the day, but if you are a stay-at-home mom or dad, or a senior citizen or a student, or someone that has a more flexible schedule and can get off work on Tuesday, I would highly recommend that you go. And it's fun too. It's fun to go down to the Capitol and kind of see how things work. We get to meet our legislators. They spend time with us. Hey, they don't really, they're not experts at this stuff. So the more of us that shows up that can help advise them in some way about these pieces of legislation, the better. They want to hear from you. They're keeping an open mind about it. We even had one of the legislators kind of give us a little warning about some of the craziness that goes on down in Nashville. He said, don't always trust. Well, we know that. So we're on top of that one. But folks, if you all can go, just send us a message and we'll make sure we wait on. Well, we can't wait, but we'll make sure that we reserve a spot for you on that bus.
Yes. And I believe we leave at 7 o'clock.
Yes, 7 a.m.
On Tuesday.
Yes, 7 a.m. It comes early, but we had a great time going down.
Then we normally get back between 7:38, 8:30, somewhere in between there, depending on traffic.
Actually, this time we may be running a little later, only because there is a 4 o'clock committee meeting that involves this legislation, and we are all going to that meeting. It'll be from 4 to 5, and then we'll be picked up at the Capitol and brought back home. And remember, folks, don't worry about food because they have plenty of snacks on the bus. They feed you well when you get there, and they feed you going back. So there's plenty of food and great fellowship with other citizens, other conservatives. You're going to have a great time.
Absolutely. I enjoyed my time, and all those that I've talked to that have went absolutely enjoyed their time. So again, folks, it's a free trip to Nashville and back, and if nothing else, just come on and just learn a little bit and see what our tax money's paying for down there.
Absolutely.
Again, that's Tuesday, leaving around 7 a.m., meeting at the Food City in Hall's parking lot. Actually, we meet over by the furniture store over there. Is where the bus parked last time. So let us know. Send us a message if you're interested in going. Just like to try to get a head count and that kind of thing so we can get you signed up. And but absolutely anybody's welcome. You don't have to be a necessary member of our group. If you're just watching this podcast for the very first time, you're more than welcome to come on down with us and just learn what this school choice stuff is all about. All right, you got anything else on that, or are we moving on?
One thing I want to say real quick is I want to thank all of our conservatives that came down to our mixer on Tuesday night. That was a great event. We saw plenty of new faces. We had some of our founding members out that night. Several of you were, some of you were sick, some of you were out of town. We missed you guys, of course, but we did have, the good news is we did have some other folks that showed up. Some people in, I guess you'd say, representing other organizations that kind of wanted to visit with us and find out a little more about what our movement is about. And we're looking forward to working with these folks. A lot of them bring talent to the table. A lot of them bring background into the table. A lot of them, I think, are very interested and like-minded in that they want change. They want people that are constitutional conservatives to run for office. And that's the big thing that we have here relative to starting the Union County Constitutional Republican Party, and also our continued efforts with the Freedom Coalition. The Freedom Coalition, you could look at us as more of the activist side of our movement, and the Union County Constitutional Republican is more of the, I guess you'd say, promoting people to run for public office and vetting them to make sure they're actually conservative. And did you know, folks, that there is no vetting process right now in the Republican Party? There is no vetting process. And what I mean by that is that someone can come into the party and just say, "Oh yeah, I'm a Republican," and they let them in. There's no vetting process. And so that's some things that we're trying to change, not only on the national level, but right here at home.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that meeting up because that reminded me of something else. Lincoln Day dinner. We've been invited to attend the Union County Republican Party's Lincoln Day dinner by some of the folks in that group. We appreciate the offer. And I think, Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're thinking about trying to get a table. A table is $300, and there's 8 seats at that table. So we're going to split that up evenly among everybody. So if you're interested in going, let us know. It's $37.50 a piece, and that's going to be your dinner and your seat. And their keynote speaker is going to be Mr. Tim Burchett himself. great leader for us to listen to, and tell him what we got to tell him to take back up to Washington, D.C. and try to straighten them knuckleheads out.
I call them jack wagons.
Jackwagon. That's my word.
You got me using it. I use that all the time now.
Well, good. I'm glad.
And
I'm glad I could bring something good to your life. I guess Jackwagon.
they don't like being called jack wagons. They don't. They hate that word. and just because we had some problems before, I know that some people just love drama. Before anybody starts, I'm going to shut it down now. For those of you who say, "Oh, at $37.50, are they making a profit?" No, we're not making nothing. We're just facilitating a table. All funds go to the local Republican Party. That is it. We don't make any money off of it. And these people that want to start this stupidity, just squash it now. Go pound sand, because we're not tolerating it.
Absolutely. And we didn't set the price. If you're not happy with the price, you take that up with the Union County Republican Party. Go see Commissioner Jesse and some of those other folks that are involved with that are handling and doing this Lincoln Day dinner. They're the ones that set the price. And like I said, it's 8 seats at a table. You divide that by $300. Divide that by 8. It's $37.50 if I'm correct on my arithmetic.
Well, I want to say this. There's 3 or 4 of us in this group that have paid for everything so far. We have not asked for 1 cent since we started. We have all spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars, probably close to over 1,000 now, in just supplying facilitation for our events, food, and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know who starts these crazy rumors, but go pound sand.
I didn't bring the flyer out here. Where's the Lincoln Day dinner being held?
Oh,
Union County High School. I knew that. Union County High School.
Oh, okay.
Union County High School is where the dinner will be.
Awesome.
So again, if you're interested in going, I didn't see anything about a dress code on the flyer they handed me.
Miss Schrader, you can come as you are. Most of us just wear, us ladies, we just wear pants and a top. I mean, some kind of slacks. And do we still call them slacks? I usually just wear like dress pants, like I call it business casual. So you don't have to really dress up too much. I've seen people in business attire, and I've seen people in like church-like clothes, but most people just wear comfortable clothes.
But if you are interested in going, I will say this one more time. If you are interested in going, there's only 8 seats. So we need to know if you're going to go, so we can, mark one of those seats as yours, and we will need that payment, $37.50 in the next, few days or so, so we can reserve your seat. And we say 8 seats, but 3 of those are already gone just by me, my group, and Stephanie. So now we're down to 5. So
yeah,
if you're interested, let us know as soon as possible.
And this is really good, folks, because remember, we need to have a presence at this event. We have had a lot of pushback over the last 2 years, and this is a great way for us to come out kicking.
I'll get the date and time exactly. I'm going to get the flyer here in just a second. So we'll come back to that here in just a minute. But in the meantime, you got anything else to say about that?
I do not.
All right. In the meantime, we got a whole lot of information to get through. We've had meetings after meetings this week, folks. Just on the 29th itself, we had 1, 2, 3, we had 4 meetings just on the 29th by itself, and then we had another one on the 1st. So meetings, plus everything else that has happened. So what we want to talk about first, Stephanie?
See, what's our topics now? We got
well, we got all these meetings. We got this 911 situation.
Well, let's hold the 911 till last. You want to start with the other thing?
911 till last. All right. Well, let's go through some of these meetings then. We'll start with the first one, which was the Planning and County Commission meeting that happened on the 29th, and it started at 5:30. That involved, you have to ignore me looking down. I'm looking at my notes here. That involved the RV resolution discussion between Planning Commission and County Commission. It's going to take a 2/3 majority to vote on that to pass it, if that's what they want to do. It's another tax, folks, but guess what? They cannot use the word tax. They can't call it a tax, so they're going to call it a fee. I don't know what that charge will be as of yet. They're still investigating. They're still talking about it, which is why if you wrote down those February meetings, is why they've got another discussion coming, another workshop is what they like to call it. But
question on
County Attorney David Myers said that basically the county's going to have to kind of change the way they operate a little bit and adopt a County Powers Act, which would give the county the authority to charge these fees and those kinds of things. And they can vote to adopt a county attorney or County Powers Act specifically for this, or they can adopt a County Powers Act and do lots of things with it, and that would be other fees, other taxes, other things that they might want to look into later. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Now,
we have a question.
I'm going to explain this. I'm going to explain what this RV resolution is in just a second. I'm just trying to get through some of the things that were discussed, and then I will talk about what the resolution actually involves. So, County Attorney David Myers says that the county does not have the authority to tax. And like I said, Tennessee state law says that they can't, not this way. And that's why they're going to have to change it to a fee. The Planning Commission, again, this was a Planning Commission and County Commission combined workshop. And it's just, they didn't vote really on anything or anything like that. That's just a discussion of how to move forward. And so the Planning Commission side says, well, one of our goals with this resolution is to have any new RV parks that may want to come to Union County or open in Union County. I know we've had a few here in the past year or two open up. Well, the Planning Commission wants to have their hands on it, and they want to make it a new rule that any new RV parks that come to Union County will have to be approved by the Planning Commission. Currently, if it's your property, you can, do what you want as long as you're not in the city. City has a little bit different rules, but in the county, you can open up your own RV park and that kind of thing. So if you're thinking about doing that, you might want to do that before they get this resolution done. And some of the discussion was if there's a title given to an item, i.e. an RV, a car, yada, 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 you can't necessarily tax it like they're trying to do. And because an RV has a title, then that's where it gets into you can't tax it. In the way, in the manner, of course, you got your license plate. That's kind of a tax, that kind of thing. But as far as an actual property tax, like you would have on if you owned a stick built house, they can't do that kind of a tax. And this is specifically trying to hit the full-time residents that are living in RVs. And so county attorney David Myers says there's the law as TCA 62-201 County Powers Act is the first thing that they're going to have to adopt. There's also another one, TCA 51118, if you want to look those up, have at it. And then they did do a motion, have another meeting in February. So that's the highlights. Now, you're asking what this means. So if and there's several people in Union County that actually live in a RV full time. This is their home. They live there 365 days a year. And one of the other things, I didn't write it down, but one of the other things I remember about that meeting was how people get around some of these rules. And there was a discussion about one RV park that actually shuts down for a whole day. They turn off the power and that kind of thing for a whole day. So and that's a way around this resolution that they're trying to do, because you have to live there 365 days for this to count. Currently, now this new resolution they're working on is going to change that. But according to the state, if you don't live there 365 days out of a year, then it's not a full-time dwelling. So you can live there 364 days, shut your power off, your water off for 24 hours, and that's the way you skirt that law as it is currently. That's what the Planning Commission was discussing, and so that was one of the things that they were trying to get changed with this resolution. Now, Union County does not have a resolution of their own yet. That's what they're working on. Now, what they're basing it on, and again, I'll give credit where credit is due. Mayor Bailey did give me, you can't see it because this thing, I got paper in my hand, but it won't let me show you. But he did give me the resolution that they're trying to base Union County's resolution on. I don't like, that's one thing I don't like about this thing, Stephanie. If I try to hold up a piece of paper, can't see it. But
you're looking like the wizard again.
But they're trying to base it off of Granger County's resolution, which Granger County has already passed. And all counties around us are looking at these same things. Claiborne County is looking at one, and all these kinds of things. Now, Union County's approach to this is a little different than Granger County's is. Granger County was actually asked when the mayor asked for this resolution, how much money they've collected thus far, and so on and so forth. Granger County is not interested necessarily in making it a money-making thing for the county. That wasn't their goal. Their goal was just to try to put some laws on the books, some rules to go by, some guidelines to go by. That's Granger County's idea of their resolution. Now, there are things in the resolution that, say, this charge or whatever. And I'm not going to go through those charges because it's not Union County's charges. I don't want anybody to get confused. But Union County's goal is to have another revenue stream. And they've said this in the meetings every time we've talked about this RV resolution. And again, like I said, they want another revenue stream. So another tax for the people of Union County. They can't call it a tax. Again, it's a fee. So what this resolution basically says is if you live 24/7 in a RV, for more than 30 days, then you're going to be taxed. You're going to have to pay this fee. And again, I'm not going to go over what Granger County sets as their fee or anything like that, because I don't want that to get misconstrued as Union County's got this fees. I don't want nobody coming after me saying that I made up something or anything like that. Now, the Granger County resolution does come up with what size an area qualifies as an RV park. It's 5 acres. Union County may say, okay, 2 acres or whatever, but the resolution requires that there'll be electricity, water, all these things are going to be required. There's going to be another example. What's in this resolution that Union, like I said, Union County's basing theirs off of this one. It's not going to be exactly like it, but one of the other things is I know a lot of RV parks are gravel as far as the entrance and that kind of thing. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. Granger County's resolution says the first 50 feet from the street to the RV park, whatever roads those are, have to be paved. And it says it's just putting in some guidelines of what they want to see. But the main thing of this RV, I keep holding up this paper like y'all can see it. The main thing is a fee generating system for Union County to have another revenue stream. And again, it's going to be based on, are you living in there or are you just vacationing in there? And that's going to qualify by the 30 days. You're in there 31 days, well, then you're living there. If you're in there 29 days, then you're just vacationing. So you can figure that out all on your own. But that's the gist of that. And like I said, there's another meeting in February. We'll get to see what they hammer out and what they agree to.
Well, this tax that they're talking about now, when they first started talking about it, my understanding was this was for people that had vacation kind of like campers where people would come down to the lake, spend a month or two, and that those were going to be feed. Okay. That there was going to be so much fee put on each of those campers with the owner, and of course they could pass that along for the rental. Okay, but now it's expanded to again go back to we the people, go back a lot to the poor, because the poor cannot afford these big homes and rent. A lot of them have had to move back home with mama. They've had to move and consolidate their the residences with other family members, and they have moved into these little campers. And again, the commission, instead of looking at other ways to raise funds, all they know is to go back to the very poorest of our county. It is so ridiculous, and every citizen should be upset about this. Anyone who is, we're barely getting by as it is. Okay, we are barely making it. Food, insurance, all kinds of things are going up. We're in a recession. The government has not admitted it yet, but things are just going to get worse. And all they can think about is more more taxes on the very poorest. The working class people, again, are under attack. And nobody can tell me that we have Republicans or true Republicans sitting on this commission not raising their voices to take up for the poor people in this county. The poor have had a bellyful.
I think she froze. Oh, there you go.
Well, the poor, everybody says 16%. Okay, well, 16% is the poverty level. Okay, then there's your working class. That's more. That's higher up. That's probably 70 to 80% of your population are working class people, and we are having to absorb all this crap from Washington, all these taxes that they're putting on us. I mean, it's appalling when you get a check every week from your job and you have to pay out 20, or actually more like 30 to 35% of your check goes to the freaking government. And then you have your mortgage, or you have your rent, you have your wheel tax, you have your property tax, you have your insurance that's increased, you have your utilities that's increased, and these buffoons then want to sit there and say, oh, it's only $20. Bull. You guys are nuts. And the people need to stand up to this crap. And the way that you can stand up to this crap is to go to these meetings. Okay. And I'm not talking about necessarily the county commission meetings. I'm talking about these development meetings. And you all need to make your voices heard. Because one thing they don't like is when the people get active and they come into those meetings. We have seen them really draw back, like defensively. Not that I want anybody to come in there and be ugly or anything, but when you come in there and you let them know that this is not acceptable, you will see a change. And they won't do it until y'all show up and start talking.
Absolutely. One of the other things that they mentioned, they discussed briefly, was they're trying to figure out if a lot of that discussion was on RV parks. They're trying to figure out if they can actually legally come up with a way, and that's kind of what this County Powers Act is going to involve a little bit, is and it's trying to figure out if, let's say, Stephanie owns an acre of property and she's got her house there. Well, her second cousin on her mother's grandmother's side and that kind of thing decides they want to come stay a while on her property and bring their RV down here because it's Stephanie's property. It's private property. They're trying to figure out if they can legally charge a fee to that RV if it stays there more than 30 days, or if they can only do this on RV parks. And that's going to be a tricky thing if they start digging into, because then they're going to have even more pushback from property owners saying, hey, this is my property. I'll do what I want on my property, and you can't stop me. And you're not going to charge me or a relative or my friend or whoever an extra fee for staying on my property. And the argument back to that was, well, we charge a property tax for the stick built house, the brick and mortar, the actual house. Why? But these people that are putting RVs on their property are using our roads and our schools and all our things, but we're not being able to get any money back from them. So we need to figure out if we can charge Uncle George over there staying in the RV, if we can charge them this fee or not.
They're already charging them a wheel tax, and they're already charging them a property tax that these renters are paying through their rent. How much are you going to tax air next, oxygen? You're going to tax
don't give them no ideas
of our lungs? I mean, these people are nuts to think that they can continue taxing right here at the brink of a recession. I mean, this is craziness. This is worse than Washington. It's just the same thing, the same mentality. that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get wound up, but I am sick and tired of these politicians trying to say, oh, we're going to do other alternative ways so that taxation doesn't have to be as painful. And then what do? They turn around and do the same thing and label it as a fee. Give me a freaking break.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Tune in, stay tuned. Next month, we'll see more what shakes out on this thing. Or not next month, this month. I already forgot it was February already.
When are they supposed to vote on this?
Well, they're not. The next, let me pull it back up here. The next workshop on this, it's not necessarily a vote, it's a workshop, will be on February the 26th. That's the next Planning County Commission workshop to discuss this resolution.
I'm going to challenge our citizens. We need to be there in full force. We need to be there. You know, all of you guys are within the sound of our voices. Y'all need to be there at that meeting. Okay. We don't have to protest or none of that stuff outside at this point, but this needs to have our attention. They need to see the citizens there with real questions, with real concerns. They need to hear from you guys. We need to also start flooding them with emails, calling their numbers and letting them know this is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Now, they're going to come back and say, I know what's coming. Mark my words, what's coming. They're going to say, oh, just like they did with the wheel tax. If you all don't support the fees, we're going to have to go up on your wheel taxes, or we're going to have to go up on your property taxes. Okay, so they're going to try to do that to you again, like you're a dummy. Okay, instead of you all calling them out. You know, they take you all for granted. They think because they don't hear from you. I know some of you do show up, but they take silence, meaning as approval. And if you guys need to get down there, guys, I'm trying to be nice. Y'all need to get down there at these meetings and voice your disapproval and let them know this is totally unacceptable. You're not going to be used as a blank check every time they need money. It's a waste. I mean, they are wasting your money. They're just it's just like we're getting pimped out. I'm sorry, but that's how it feels. You know, we're being pimped out. You're not, that's how they're treating you. Folks, we got to stand up.
Absolutely. Lots of dates, so you might want to get a piece of paper or a calendar and write all these dates down. Miss Jeanette, you're trying to steal my thunder about that. I'm going to bring that up later on, so hush. But lots of dates, folks, and we'll go through these dates one more time real quick. February the 6th. That's this Tuesday. We're going to Nashville. If you're going with us, Stephanie, I don't know what there we go. I seen your laundry basket for a second. On February the 6th, we are going to Nashville. If you're interested in going, if you could send us a message or let us know somehow, text us or whatever, if you can do that so we can get you signed up. But February the 6th, we're going to Nashville. We'll be leaving from the Food City in Halls, that parking lot. We'll be leaving at 7 a.m. and we'll be coming back later that night, 8, 9, whatever time o'clock. Just depends on how long the meetings go and all that kind of good stuff down there. But February the 6th, going to Nashville. Now, as far as county government meetings, budget and finance or budget committee meeting is on the 20th at 6 p.m. in the large courtroom. Finance be in the large courtroom at 6:30 p.m. The Planning and County Commission workshop, which is going to be discussing the RV resolution and all that, that will be on February the 26th in the large courtroom at 5:30. Planning Commission will also meet on the 26th in the large courtroom at 6 p.m. Also on the 26th, it's 3 meetings that day. The County Commission will meet at 7 p.m., all in the large courtroom. So that's the county meetings. Now, the Lincoln Day dinner. I've got again, you can't see my paper. I hate that. And I'm just going to read it right off of this flyer they handed me. The Lincoln Day dinner. It's an annual dinner. The keynote speaker is the United States Congressman Tim Burchett. That will be on February the 24th at 6 p.m. at Union County High School. Dinner will be catered by Anderson Farms. We are looking at trying to get a table. Table's $300. You divide that by the 8 seats at a table, comes out to $37.50 a piece. So if you're interested in going, again, this is sponsored by the Union County Republican Party. They asked us to join them and go to this, invited us down there. So if you're interested in going with us and want to sit at our table, if you will also let us know that, send us a message on Messenger or text or what have you. Let us know, because we got to reserve this table, and there's already 3 seats taken, so we got 5 seats left. So we're going to need to know, and we're going to need to be picking up that $37.50 for each person. And that way we can get those seats reserved for you. Miss Stephanie, Miss Schrader there has a question for you. I'll let her handle all that stuff.
Oh, okay. I'll get back with you, Sabrina.
All right. Next meet. I hope everybody's clear as mud, because we're moving on as soon as I get this drink of Dr. Pepper here. One down, folks. I got another one to go.
That was quite a neck stretch.
It's empty. That's why I got to get to the next one. Anyways, the next meeting we had on the 29th was the Planning Commission. That one was at 6 p.m. The only thing of interest in that meeting really was, if you're interested in building a new home or what have you, they had their second reading of the application fee. And so it did pass as a second reading, so it passed. So those increased to the application fee is now $60 for the first 2 lots. So if you're trying to do a subdivision or what have you, $60 for the first 2 lots and $25 every lot thereafter. So I don't know. They didn't say what the original price was, so I'm not sure what the original price was. I just know it was an increase, and it did go into effect because that was the second reading, and it passed. So again, I'm not rich enough to try to get into construction and build a subdivision, but there's some of y'all out there that absolutely are. And so just be aware that your application fee has gone up. Once again, $60 for the first 2 lots and $25 for every lot thereafter. Whew, that's a lot. Budget and finance, 6:30. Did you want to say something about that?
Oh, I said that's a lot of increases.
Increase. Not a whole lot of decreases, except for my pocketbook.
That's right.
Done cracked open the second one. All right. The budget meeting was at 6:30, again on the 29th. we discussed, or they discussed, there's a new law that affects work release inmates. And that new law says that these work release inmates, they get released from the jail and they go mow or they pick up litter or whatever the case may be. Um, they now either have to wear an ankle monitor to be able to go out and do these things, or they would have to arm the maintenance men that take them out to, like, specifically in this situation, the Union County maintenance crew has those uh, inmates that are eligible for work release. Um, they do a lot of the mowing around the county. All the things the county's got to mow and take care of during the summer, springtime. A lot of these inmates do a lot of that work, and so uh, this new law would force the county to arm these maintenance men that have these inmates out there, and they didn't think that was such a good idea, so they're going to look into these ankle monitors for these work release inmates. So that's going to cost us more money. They've got to look into an ankle monitor company and that kind of thing to come up with prices. So that's something that will be discussed. But that's one of the things that has to be done. There's no choice in it because it's a new Tennessee state law and it's just got to be done. There was also a discussion of the blue mud. If you don't know what blue mud is, it's down here, Big Ridge. That's what they call it, blue mud. Is again, folks, it was a grant. We got a grant. That free money that we get, it's got to cost us some money. So they discussed the match. It was already approved, and it just didn't go through the right manner. And so they had to send it back through budget and that kind of thing just to get it done right. But there was a match, and it got approved for that grant, and I believe it's $200,000. Don't quote me on that because I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So it cost us $200,000 to get that grant, and it's free money, folks. And that's my issue with grants. They always cost us something, have some kind of string attached. Now we get into the tricky little situation that happened in the budget meeting. The sheriff. This is where Miss Jeanette's trying to steal my thunder. The sheriff went to the budget meeting, and he says, "I've got to have some new cameras for the jail." What's the grant for? The grant is for a new boat launch, and I believe that they had a meeting over there about the design. I don't know exactly what all got approved, but the original plan was for another boat launch, because the one that they have, you go through there summertime, there's just cars and boat trailers and those kinds of things just parked everywhere down there. It's pretty busy, so they're looking into another boat launch, some more campgrounds, and all those kinds of good things. Mr. Butcher. So the sheriff wants a new camera system for the jail. He says currently, you're welcome, sir. Currently, the jail has approximately 55 cameras, but of those 55 cameras, only 30 of those cameras actually work. And there's some blind spots and yada, yada, yada. Trying to sell why he needs a new camera system. And the word of the evening and a lot of these meetings was liability. And I even brought that up to one of the county commissioners. That was, how Sesame Street has the word of the day. The word of Union County on this night was liability. So that word got thrown away around quite a bit Monday night. But so here is the shocker, folks. You ready? He's looking at a 64 camera system. They took bids, only got one bid back from a company called Eye in the Sky Camera Solutions at a cost to us taxpayers of $97,100. You heard me right. $97,100 for 64 cameras in the jail. They're supposed to be jail grade. Let me preference this. He told one story in the budget meeting, and he told a different story in county commission meeting. And that ticked a lot of folks off because county commissioners are on the budget meeting and they knew he changed his story come county commission time. Now, I did speak to some, and I'm not going to use no names. I'll just say some people that know told me that this actual camera system is actually for the cameras, the breakdown of this 97, almost $100,000. The actual cameras cost 30,000 roughly, give or take, and the rest, the 70,000 was labor. That just sounds crazy to me. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we come to the county commission meeting on this topic, because, like I said, the story changed some. So, one of the other selling points that the sheriff did try to push was that when we build this new jail, this camera system could be moved to the new jail. So I don't know what we'll do. I don't know what we will do about a camera system in the jail while the new jail's being built. If the camera's being put in the new jail, I guess we just won't have cameras in the old jail before they get. I don't know. Just common sense, folks. It just doesn't make sense. And why? And I understand if we need new cameras, we need new cameras. But a lot of what was said just does not make sense if you're using your common sense. And again, everybody knows that I like the saying that Union County, as far as government goes, lacks common sense. But the budget committee, I didn't like what they were smelling, and they were like, "Nope, we're not even going to vote on this. We'll just pass it on up to county commission, the full commission, and we'll let them handle it because we're not touching it." Again, something smells rotten in Denmark. You want to talk anything about that, or you want me to go on to the full county commission meeting?
What was the vote? It was something they voted on where they were split. What was that? What am I thinking about?
You're thinking about the camera system, but that was in the county commission meeting, not the budget meeting. We ain't got there yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right. I don't guess she's got anything else to say about that. So we'll move on to the county commission meeting. Hold on, Miss Schrader. They asked for bids, and according to the sheriff, the only company that bid was this Eye in the Sky Camera Solutions.
One of the things that someone brought up was when you only have one person or one entity bidding, it kind of is. I hate to say, I know there's not a whole lot of companies out there that do that specifically, that type of niche, but you got to wonder if at that kind of price, if there's somebody getting their pockets padded. And I'm not saying that is happening. I'm just asking questions. So I think any time that we have something like this happen, I think there needs to be a little bit more digging to make sure that's not happening.
Absolutely. And as far as the cost to reinstall them, take them down, reinstall them, that wasn't given. To be honest with you, my personal opinion, this is just my opinion. He was put on the spot when he got asked that question. Could they be moved? And he was wanting to get these cameras, and so he just kind of said, "Yeah, I don't see why they couldn't. I'm sure we can talk to them. I'm sure there'll be another fee, a reinstallation fee, but I'm sure we can get them to." So, had the company agreed to it? No. Is the sheriff thinking that they will agree to it? Yes, with a extra fee. We don't know what the fee is because he didn't ask. So he doesn't know. He was just assuming that they would. They may say, once we put it in, it don't come back out. We just, it's not something. Or they may say, yeah, we'll do it for another $70,000. I don't know. And he doesn't know because the question wasn't actually asked to the company.
There needs to be a contract for one. And number two, there needs to be an investigation to make sure that we're not buying a pig in a poke. If it happens.
Right. All right. So now we'll move to the entire county commission meeting. Missy Brown and Travis Patterson were appointed to the Records Management Committee. I'm just going through the agenda, folks, and then that kind of thing. Mayor Bailey did his mayor's report, and he did say that the value of a penny is now $49,131, and that's pretty good according to him. Our tax rate, property tax rate, is 1.89. If y'all don't remember that, and our jail, Union County Jail, is certified. So for those that go around saying our jail's not certified and that kind of thing, it did get announced that our jail is certified. Public comments. There was a young lady there, or actually two young ladies there, that discussed the Rush Strong School and Sharps Chapel, and that it's being vandalized and it's a county-owned property, so they've got to do something about that. And so they're going to send the maintenance department up there and to board up the windows and all those kinds of things until they can figure out what they're going to do with that property. They may put it up for bid and sell it, or they may turn it into it's a historic building, and that kind of thing. So they may end up, redoing it and opening it back up as a community type building, or they're going to continue to discuss that. But they did make the agreement with the young lady that was there speaking, that's actually been going there and trying to take care of some things and clean it up and all those kinds of things, that they would look into it and figure out what they want to do. They did have another building, another property like this up in the Speedwell community, and they ended up auctioning that one off for like $200. So looking into that. I'm just, again, I keep showing y'all these papers and y'all can't see.
How many acres is with that?
What's that?
How much acreage comes with that building?
I'm not sure. I went and talked to the mayor after the commission meeting about that, and he didn't know a whole lot of details about it. He told me to, because one of my questions, just being honest with you, since they're looking at rebuilding or building a new EMS station up in the chapel, I asked him how far away is this Rush Strong School away from the current EMS station, and he said just a mile or so. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the chapel. I seen Brantley was on here a little while ago. Maybe he is still on here. Maybe he can enlighten me a little bit. But I said, well, if county owns the building, why can't? And if you're, thinking about refurbing it anyway, could you not refurb it and turn it into the EMS station and save us a little bit of money on buying and building a new building and all those kinds of things. So he told me to Google map it or Google Earth it, and I couldn't find it. There's actually several Rush Strong schools in Tennessee, and so when I typed it in, I got one in Strawberry Plains, and every time I type it in, whatever version I typed in, it always took me back to the Strawberry Plains one. So I don't know anything about it.
As high as real estate values are right now, I would think if it looked like a fairly good size older school. I mean, a 2-room schoolhouse or something maybe. I'm guessing it comes with maybe an acre of property at least. So I don't think they should sell it for next to nothing. I mean, if they sell it at all. But I also don't think that it's government's place to invest in a business there. I don't think that's should be a government's practice. Just my opinion.
Right. There was a resolution that was passed to apply for the home grant for Union County. That home grant, we've had this a couple times in the past. If you're not familiar with that, you go through a process. If you need some repairs to your home, and they go through and qualify you based on your income and all those kinds of things. And I believe it's $700,000 that they got to work with, and they try to help fix some homes. And there's several people in Union County that have got this help in the past. They did this time agree to allow mobile homes to be part of that grant. And what the mayor said was, if you qualify and they pick you to be one of the ones to participate in this program, that they will just buy you a brand new mobile home and just swap you for it. Trying to read some of the comments. Stephanie, you keep up with the comments while I'm talking.
Okay, I was looking actually at the Rush Strong School. I was seeing if I could find the age. Go ahead.
All right. Middle school construction updates. Basically, the only real updates are they still trying to go through the process and figure everything out. They're looking at taking bids in April and start the construction of the new middle school come summertime. One of the other things that they did mention during the conversation about middle school updates wasn't really a middle school update, but it was about TCAT, and TCAT be a great thing for Union County coming. There's supposed to be a meeting this week or this coming week with the TCAT people to discuss when they're going to be moving forward, where they're going to put it exactly. It's supposed to be going, if you're familiar with the high school, where the greenhouses are, it's supposed to be going around that area. This new TCAT building is supposed to be going around the old greenhouses, not at the greenhouses, but like on the back side of the greenhouses in that area. This is going to be a 50-year lease. They're looking at groundbreaking in March, and at a cost of $11 million is what this building's going to cost. So that's pretty good for Union County. It'd be good for the students and a lot of folks in Union County to be able to go to that TCAT. So pretty excited about that. Other going back to the actual new middle school, the city of Maynardville has actually asked the school system and the designers of the new school that they're requesting to have a traffic study of what the effects of traffic is going to be, where the new middle school is going to be. Are they going to have to put up traffic lights? Are they going to have to, how are they going to navigate the traffic? That will be shifting from Main Street basically over to John Deere Drive and then on to Manorville Highway and that kind of thing. So the city of Manorville did ask for that traffic study. And that traffic study is going to probably cost around $9,000, but that is going to come out of the $41 million budget that the new school has. So hopefully no extra money out of our pocket, the money that they've already got approved, which is that $41 million, what the new middle school is supposed to cost.
Well, bearing that in mind, if we're building a jail, who knows what's going to happen with that, but if we're building a jail and we're building a new middle school in that area, it would seem to me like it would be better to do the feasibility or traffic study based on both the courthouse area, increased traffic, because they are thinking about possibly moving it, I guess, or there's several different ideas for possible properties. I know they talked about taking the old house, the old historic house, taking that down and possibly moving that little building there that's historical, and using that whole block for the new jail. And then there was discussion about the middle school field, putting the jail down there. And the problem that I'm having, I guess.
Well, I was talking about the new middle school, not the jail.
No, but I'm saying if you're going to have a traffic study, would you not want to include that new facility in that traffic study so you don't have to wind up in a few years doing this all again to save the taxpayers money?
It's a different area, so it would be a different traffic study anyway.
Well, where is the middle school? Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
The new middle school is going to be on John Deere Drive behind like the co-op.
Okay, but it still would feed into that area because traffic's going to be going away and to, I mean, people still have to go through the main road.
Right, but they don't know where they're going to build the new jail yet, so they don't.
Well, that's the point. Why would you do the traffic study before you decide?
Number one, the traffic study is being requested by the city of Manorville.
Now, that's just a question. I think
what the traffic study is supposed to come up with is how to get cars out of the school, like drop off and pickup time, basically out of the school and onto the highway or wherever they need to go safely, and try to figure out if they're going to have to put up some red lights down there and that kind of thing.
Sorry, I hurt myself.
Which will cost a lot of money if they've got to start putting traffic lights up. And that's why I know you were at the meeting. That's why they got into the discussion. Well, there's already 2 traffic lights down on the other end, so we shouldn't have to. But that's what the traffic study is going to show. They are going to have to widen the road. They're going to have to do lots of things. They're going to have to do a lot of work to Beeler Hollow, not only John Deere Drive, because they've got to widen those roads. They've got to repave them. They've got to do a lot of work. So, but the traffic study is basically that: how to get people in and out of there safely. And I understand what you're saying, but I don't see how you could tie it to the jail as well. It's just going to have, it's just has to be a different study.
It's just going to cost more money. I'm
Yeah.
saying that since they're trying to bulldoze both of these projects through,
And not only that, but you're taking, you can't combine school system money with county money. They're two separate entities.
it's really all county money.
Yeah, but the school system operates on their own budget.
Yeah, that's just a technicality, but it's really all our money. Let's be really.
That, Stephanie.
Let's be
just
Republican.
That's just like 911 board. It's a separate entity, okay?
How much dressing would you like in your word salad, Jason?
All right, moving on. The jail cameras, again, are a liability. Again, 64 cameras. They have 52. Only about 30 of them worked. Something very interesting happened during the vote for this. Again, $97,105.90 is the cost of these cameras. They did, if you remember, folks, we decided we didn't want to do the sports complex, and so they still have that money sitting there. So Larry Lay made a motion to take the money out of the sports complex money and buy these cameras. That was seconded by Eddie Simpson. Yes, Eddie Simpson was at the county commission meeting. He'd been missing a few, but he was there this time. He did second that motion, and that vote did tie. So half commission wanted to buy these cameras, and half the commission did not. And this is the first time ever, according to Mayor Bailey, that it's ever happened on his administration, at least, that there was a tie. So what does that mean? Mayor Bailey had to make the tie-breaking vote. Normally, he doesn't vote on any of these things because it's normally just a simple majority of the commissioners, and he doesn't have to vote. He only votes when there is a tie. In this case, there was a tie. And again, Mayor Bailey had to vote, and he voted to pass this purchase to buy these cameras. So yes, we are going to be spending nearly $100,000 for these cameras. And those county commissioners that voted no were Mike Bowles, Linda Effler, Don Flatford, Sidney Jesse, Ashley Mike, Kenny Moore, Gerald Simmons, and Cheryl Walker. Let me tell you that some of those commissioners are on the Budget and Finance Board as well. So they heard two different stories when it came to these cameras. Sheriff just made his, it got passed from Budget and Finance. They didn't vote on it because they weren't too sure that he actually needed it. And that's why they said, well, we're not going to vote on it. We'll just send it on up to county commission. We'll let full commission vote on it. He changed his story of as far as would this come again, get into moving the cameras to the new place? Yeah, absolutely they will. We get into, you can go back and watch the video, but I'm not going to go through all that muck. But the story did change. Hey, you got a kitty cat above your head.
He's made his debut. Oh my gosh.
All right. Now you got me sidetracked.
I'm sure that'll be on another video somewhere.
Right? So, but that did pass, folks. Again, those that voted no, that they did not want to buy this camera system. If you want to reach out to them and say thank you for voting for it or not voting for it, or ask them why they didn't, or whatever you choose. Those that voted no was Mike Bowles, Linda Effler, Don Flatford, Sidney Jesse Jr., Ashley Mike, Kenny Moore, Gerald Simmons, and Cheryl Walker.
And tell us who voted for it.
I didn't write the ones that voted down for it. It's the rest of them. It's the other half.
That's the ones they need to hear from.
Well, here, let me point this out. I didn't say I wasn't going to say it. I'm going to point this out, okay? You look who's on the jail committee, okay? Most of the ones on the jail committee voted no on buying these cameras for the jail. What's that tell you? That's a little something. I mean, there has to be something there if the jail committee members voted no. And Sidney Jesse Jr., he's one of the ones that voted no, and he's the head of the jail committee. I mean, I don't know. Do with that what you want.
I think there should have been more discussion, but that's, neither here nor there.
Right. I misspoke when I talked about the blue mud. It was $24,000. I think I said $200,000. It's $24,000. That was the match to the grant. So I wanted to clarify that. And we get down to. We got into a little bit of discussion about the shortfall for Paulette. Paulette Elementary School will be paid off in 2026. However, the shortfall, which means the money that the county has to continue to collect to pay the county back for the money that it used to build Paulette Elementary School, is still, and that affects the will tax. The will tax to pay that debt back has to continue for 2.78 years. So even though the school was paid off in 2026, there's still an additional 2.78 years that we will have the $30 part of the will tax to pay back the county for that. So, that in mind, that $30 that's going to pay Paulette will not go away. It will not sunset, because that money will be continued to pay for the new middle school. So don't get that confused if you watch that video. And then we get into the property for the jail. Got into that discussion. The proposed property for the new jail around the courthouse is estimated at a total of $601,900. They're not wanting to buy certain properties that David Myers owns because they think he's charging too much. So they're trying to buy very limited amount. They're wanting to, at this meeting, they were looking at building a 160 bed jail. So they got into that discussion about that. Well, then that just opened a whole can of worms, and some commissioners want this property for the jail, some want the property next to the courthouse, some want elsewhere. I know at least one county commissioner wants to tear down the old Steiner building, but they're trying to turned into a 2-story parking garage. One of them, one county commissioner wants to actually build the jail over there. So it very heated, very back and forth, lots of ideas, but no actual set place of where they're going to build the jail at. And so that finished up that county commission meeting. And then, well, Stephanie, you want to say anything about that county commission meeting before we move into the commission jail workshop?
I'm good.
Oh, come on. I was trying to take a break for a second.
You need your Dr. Thunder.
Yeah, I needed a drink, see? All right. Well, we'll get into the commission jail workshop. That was on Thursday night. If you didn't get to attend, I told Stephanie to keep up with comments. I don't know if she is or not. So if I missed your comment, retype it and I'll get back to you. I'm sorry. I'm looking at these notes. But commission jail workshop was on Thursday night. There was Mr. Jim Hart was there from CTAS. Mr. Bob Bass was there from the state, from TCI. And Mr. Jim Hart did go over the needs assessment for the Union County Jail. He went through that in detail. Again, I'll give credit where credit is due. Mayor Bailey did give me a copy of the needs assessment, so I do have that here in front of me. But Mr. Jim Hart, he's an independent person. He's from CTAS, a completely different company or group or whatever you want to call it, that tries to help the county and figure out what needs the county has. And they CTAS doesn't do jail stuff. They do grant stuff. They do school stuff. That anytime county commissioner has a question, they call CTAS, and they just try to help local governments, work through whatever issue they might be having. So this needs assessment is 40 some odd pages long. And so we're not going to go through that whole thing. But the highlights, the problems that Mr. Hart said that Union County has as far as the jail is overcrowding, which we already knew, and housing by classification. Union County doesn't have the space to house different class offenders separately. So you might have high risk people, somebody that's having a mental problem in a jail cell with just regular inmate. You might have you might have a handicapped person in with regular population because they can't necessarily separate. I know they try to do that. They try to do what they can, but sometimes, depending on how many folks are in there, they don't have room. You might have a low-level inmate and with a high-level inmate. You might have, you might have somebody that's in there for a DUI in the same jail cell as a murder suspect. Those kinds of things. They don't have the ability to separate out as much as they should, according to Mr. Hart there. And the intake or booking area isn't adequate enough. It's basically an office, and it doesn't give them enough room to do proper searches and all the things that they need to do, according to Mr. Hart. One of the other things is there's no perimeter security. Everybody knows you go to the courthouse. There's no fence around the courthouse. There's nothing like no perimeter security. Just what it says. And one of the other biggest things, there's no program space. And what that means is there's no areas that these inmates could be getting help with something, a drug addiction, or the only real programs that the jail has currently are two different folks or two different groups that um, come in and do Bible study or do church. That's the only real programs that Union County has to offer anybody that's in jail. They don't have a rehabilitation type thing. They have the nurse has her office and that kind of thing, but they don't have uh, enough space to do classroom stuff and all those kinds of things, according to Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart also says currently the Union County Jail only has 22 employees, and that's not enough employees. Union County Jail houses about 4%, or 4% of the inmates in Union County Jail are state inmates, and that only means that Union County is actually only holding those folks until the state has a bed for them, and that's actually a good thing, according to Mr. Hart, because he likes to not see local jails be housing state or federal prisoners, especially just trying um, to make a few extra dollars. Here was something I've thought was interesting is that the state or Union County has currently 1,700 active warrants, and what that means is there's 1,700 people they're looking for, and some of these are really old. The sheriff said that they just can't get rid of them, but there's no identifying, no birth dates, no social security numbers, and so they just sitting there and probably will never be served. But Union County does have 1,700 active warrants, and hey, you might get pulled over one day if you got an active warrant on you and not know it, and be like, "Hey, you got a warrant on you." No, I'm just kidding. I know Stephanie does. She's got like 20 of them. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. And as far as the cost of a new jail, it's probably going to cost about $760 per square foot. And they recommend at least 130 bed new jail, but he actually was pushing to 160, 175 bed jail just to be safe. And his estimation, and he has a big old formula how he comes up with all that and all those kinds of things. One other thing that I thought, and it's not funny, but is funny, I guess, a little bit. Uh, and I just thought it was just like a little ha ha moment. Union County Jail is not not Prison Rape Elimination Act certified. So my advice to you, if you find yourself in the unfortunate circumstances that you go to Union County Jail, my advice is don't drop the soap. You were supposed to laugh right there. You didn't even hear what I said, did you? You ain't even paying attention.
I'm like that kid on Homer Simpson.
But I did find that interesting. You talk about being certified, but yet you are not Prison Rape Elimination Act certified. I don't know what all that entails, but you would think that'd be one of the things that you would actually be trying to prevent. I don't care what size jail it is or what kind of problems you have. That just seems like something you'd be working on. She's gone again. I don't know what to do with her. Where'd you go? There you are.
All that pretty work you're seeing, I'm figuring things out. Can you
Well, what'd
see
you
that?
figure out?
Did you see all the print across the screen?
I did. When you were messaging, putting those messages up there.
Yeah, I guess somebody from, nobody's doing that. It's just magically appearing.
Right?
The only way we can learn is to try new things. So, folks, just bear with us. We're learning as we go. Go ahead, Jason.
I thought you was going to talk for a minute. Give me a break, please. I thought surely you would have a comment on not being prison rape certified.
Well, I think you covered most of it there. I mean, what you said is spot on.
That was just that was just one of the things that whole meeting going through 40 pages of this needs assessment. That was just one of the things that just stuck out to me. It's like, you think you'd want to be that? And you just want to be prison rape certified. All right. That's all I got on the meetings. So, give us your breakdown of those meetings there, Stephanie, and we'll get into the big topic.
In other words, you want me to stall.
Gosh, I'm just trying to breathe for a minute. That's all.
Well, I mean,
I did a lot of talking.
I did my little rant earlier about the taxation, and for those of you who may not know, there is actually some legislation that's coming up. I think I don't know if it's going to be this legislative session, but there is a movement to do away or at least limit property taxes or property taxation. There is a lot of interest in that. And that may be one of the reasons that these commissioners, they're panicking because they know it's coming. The ones that keep up with, I guess you'd say, the trends of legislation, they know that they're going to be challenged in the future because they can't take in this legislation down the road, they won't be able to take property taxes and use it for public education. And of course, if this freedom of education does go through, whether it's this year or next year or the following year, our population in our schools are already decreasing, not because of this, but because of failing scores. And that's not just in Union County, that's all over the country. And so there's also discussion about, well, if there's less population now, because a lot of people are homeschooling, and then you have on top of that this school choice where more people are going to come out of the public school system because it'll be more of a open market, so to speak, competitive market, then there may not be a need to build a bunch of new buildings because right now the cost per student in public education is estimated, now this is just approximation, around $17,000 per student per year, which, can surpass many private schools. So that's one of the reasons this came about, was because we have spent our way into this large price to school our children. And for what? For failing scores. So that's one of the reasons that the ones that are smarter, that are keeping up, they see this coming and they're trying to figure out other ways to tax everything because they want to keep this going, this taxation. And we get upset with many of them because they call themselves Republican. True Republicans don't believe in excessive taxation, and they would never pass the kind of taxation that we've seen here in our county. Now they want to say, oh, they've kicked the can down the road. Well, that's baloney too. They go back to former county commissioners and mayors and blame it all on them. And they had balanced budgets. We were not in a deficit. Now we are. That's not kicking the can down the road. That's being responsible in your public service. And so what has happened, we are living beyond our means. You know, it's like someone who has a credit card and they run it up, and I've had that happen. You think, oh, I'll pay it back because I want to continue living the way I'm living instead of having pain. Okay. Instead of doing without, instead of saving for the rainy day, you're like, well, you know, what's $20? I want to go to McDonald's. Oh, it's only $20. And you spend that money on that credit card. And then the next month you've got a bill for $30 because they've tacked interest on it. That doesn't sound like a lot until you add all those up. And then you're in the whole thousands of dollars as a person. The public schools the government has done the same thing. That's why we're in the shape we're in, not just here locally, but in our federal government, because we are living beyond our means. And it's hard for people who have been used to having all these things to do without, or to, I should say, scale back. You know, people say, oh gosh, it's hard to pack a bologna sandwich. I get tired of that every day. Well, if you don't have the money, you might enjoy that bologna sandwich because it's that or not having anything. So that, you know, our schools and our governments, they all continue to spend just like a sift. And that's why we're here. Just
that's right.
And my 2 cents is being taxed, and also interest is being accrued. Now, have you had enough time to recover?
I did. All right.
Good.
All right, folks. Like I said, something rotten in Denmark. I need some Twilight Zone music. Okay. Imagine, if you will.
I'll try that.
I believe that's how he normally started those shows. Imagine, if you will.
Let me try that. Hold on. Let me see if I can get over there. Give me just a second. I need to test this anyway. Audio.
Oh, Lord. She's having too much fun playing with this program tonight, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
I should have thought about that earlier. You could already had it on there.
I would have had it already primed up and ready to go. Just keep talking. I'll find it.
DJ, hit that beat. No.
I think I found it. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. Start talking.
All right, folks. Imagine, if you will, that you're at home and having a great night and, you know, spending time with your family, and then tragedy strikes. And you've got a loved one that's all of a sudden laying on the floor in your living room, and you're in a panic and you don't know what to do, and so you call 911. You're having a crisis in your life, and I hope and pray this never happens to you. But you're having a crisis in your life, and you need help, and you call 911. And you tell them what's going on, and you're worried about your loved one, and you're wanting to help, and you just don't know what to do. And so you ask this 911 operator, you know, what can I do? Help me. On the other end, 911 dispatcher says, well, we've got an ambulance on the way. We've got help coming. Great. Most folks know in Union County it's going to take about 45 minutes, especially out here in Big Ridge and Lewiston Point and that kind of thing. It's going to take a good 45 minutes or longer to get an ambulance to you. Especially when Union County is at level 0, which means there's no ambulances in the county. And that happens quite often, on a daily basis even. And that's no fault of EMS. They get stuck at the hospital with a patient and they can't leave until the hospital releases. I'm not knocking EMS drivers or workers at all. So don't take me wrong there. But your loved one's laying there and you just got told ambulance is on the way and you don't know how long it's going to be for them to get there and you're still needing help. Well, most 911 dispatchers and other places, every county in East Tennessee, I almost dare say in the entire state of Tennessee, and I'd even dare say most of the entire United States, will offer to try to walk you through giving life-saving measures, whether it's CPR, Heimlich maneuver, what have you. Union County 911 board voted that Union County 911 dispatchers cannot give you any life-saving instructions, cannot tell you over the phone how to give CPR to your loved one that's laying in front of you, dying, because it's a liability. Folks, we're talking about life and death. And how much a life is really worth. This should make each and every one of you that are listening to this podcast extremely, extremely angry. It made me very angry. It makes lots of people very angry. If you did not know this, and this is the first time you're hearing about this, it should make you just irate. And I hope you, after you listen to this podcast, I hope you go tell your neighbors. You go to church tomorrow, I hope you talk to your church members and tell them what's going on in Union County. And not only that, I hope you start calling these 911 board members. Call your county commissioners. Tell them this is not right. The safety of the citizens of Union County come first and foremost. That's the ultimate job of local government, state government, federal government, is to protect its citizens. Number one, Union County E-911 board dropped the ball. Not only did they drop the ball, they are breaking Tennessee state law. Yeah, they like that. Union County E-911 board is breaking state law. Hey, look at there. Tell me I'm lying. And I can't read that little print, so I'm going to have to pull it up. But bear with me, folks, while I talk about this. Because E-911 board says it's a liability to the dispatchers to give this information out. Now, 911 dispatchers have to be trained by law to know how to do these things, CPR and all that kind of good stuff. But there it is. There's the law. So what E-911 has voted to do, that even though our 911 dispatchers are trained on how to do these life-saving measures, they still are not allowed to tell you in your time of need, when you've got a loved one laying in front of you dying, waiting on an ambulance. Now, you ask why they do that. Well, they were told that it's a liability, and I'm not going to call names or anything like that. I won't do that. You can go back and you can watch the video yourself. It is on the UNL. You go back and watch the 911 board meeting. It's a couple weeks ago. But here's the thing. It was shoved down 911 board members' throats that it's a liability because the dispatchers could get in all kinds of lawsuits and trouble and blah, 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 blah if they give this information out. Well, a simple search, like I did, on the law, you go to letter I, and it says, emergency communication district, state, county, municipality are not liable for any civil damages, are subject to a civil suit of any nature for employees who answer 911 calls and employees who are recently hired. Oh, maybe that's the wrong one. Oh, I'm sorry. Read the wrong one. Go to K. A dispatcher who gives instructions, trained. They have to be trained. They can't just do it just because they want to. But they give instruction by trained emergency call takers, public safety dispatchers, callers, and bystanders. Well, crap. I keep reading the wrong one. It's too many. Oh, there it is. An emergency call taker. It's letter E. I'm sorry. An emergency call taker or public safety dispatcher who assists or instructs a caller or bystander on TCPR, TCPR stands for telephone CPR, is not, again, I say is not, NOT, is not liable for any civil damages or subject to civil suit of any nature arising out of the assistance and instruction provided to the caller or bystander, except in cases of gross negligence or willful misconduct. Clear as day, right in the law, just read it to you, not liable. So where's the liability? Where's the liability? Again, folks, Union County is the only county in East Tennessee, dare say the entire country, that will not give you life-saving measures if you call 911 in your time of need. And it's not the dispatcher's fault. I want to put that out there. It's not the dispatcher's fault, because I know some dispatchers, at least in the past, and have actually broke the rules to 911 board and actually still gave instructions how to do CPR. However, 911 board says they are not allowed to because of liability. Again, I'll read it again. Emergency call taker or public safety dispatcher who assists or instructs a caller or bystander on TCPR is not liable for any civil damages or subject to civil suit of any nature arising out of the assistance and instruction provided to the caller or bystander, except in cases of gross negligence or willful misconduct. So you might say, well, what's gross negligence or willful misconduct? Well, to me, and this is just my opinion, form your own. If a dispatcher told you to give adult CPR to an infant, to me, that would be gross negligence or willful misconduct. Because, folks, there's 3 different types of CPR. There's infants, there's children, and then there's adult CPR. So that would be one instance of gross negligence. I get that. However, where's the liability? It clearly says not liable. So either somebody lied or somebody just made it up, or somebody doesn't care about people living or dying. I don't know why this came up. But the statement that it's because the dispatchers would be liable, that's an outright lie. It's clear as day right there in the law. Did you not look at the law when you were saying that it was against the law, or that it was a liability? So that brings me to the next point. Miss Beeler, I will disagree with you right here. So at the county commission meeting, there was supposed to be a discussion on what E-911 board did. Now let me clarify how E-911 works. E-911 is a beast of its own. It's its own entity. County commission, the mayor, all those technically do not have any control over them. E-911 board governs themselves. The mayor appoints those members to the board. Commission or what have you votes and that kind of thing on those boards. That's pretty much it. After that, the board does what they want. It's basically the only board, kinda. There's a few others, but it's the major one that governs themselves. So I've been investigating this for several days. So here's where I'm going to disagree with you, Miss Beeler. I got a little sidetracked there. County commission was supposed to have a discussion about this 911 board voting to no longer do this. Well, somehow, mysteriously, the sheriff got a letter put into the commissioner's packet. And this letter explained to commission why E-911, by doing what they did and that kind of thing, has made them, in compliance. Union County is in compliance. E-911 is in compliance. They are not. That's a lie.
That letter would not translate, Jason. So I would have needed. It just wouldn't. Said it wouldn't accept it.
Through my investigation, I did get a copy of that letter that was placed into the commissioner's packet. And this letter, like I said, explains to the commissioners why they are in compliance. And so the commissioners, relying on this letter, didn't have the discussion, and they should have. But this letter is not signed by the sheriff or the sheriff is the director of E-911. It's not signed by Billy. His name is typed at the bottom of it. And from what I've been told by reliable sources, he's not actually the one that wrote this letter. I don't know that to be fact or not fact, but my reliable sources have told me he's not actually the one that wrote the letter. Again, I won't read this letter unless y'all want me to read this letter, but basically it explains that the dispatchers are trained, so they're in compliance. And it goes through and it explains some of the things that the dispatchers have to be trained on. Like, for instance, telephone CPR. Yeah, they have to be trained on it. Or recognize the symptoms of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. And they have to be proficient in giving CPR instructions to bystanders. They have to be proficient in giving those instructions, but E-911 says, y'all don't have to give it. You have to be proficient in the coaching of bystanders performing CPR. But, we're not going to do it anyway, but you have to be proficient at it. And you have to explain why measuring and reviewing CPR calls is important to the community. But we don't have to do it. And I'm not trying to pick on or anything like that. This is too important. Even if a dispatcher gave life-saving instructions to just one person, then it was worth it. So you have to say, well, what's a life worth? Again, if in 100 years saved one life, then it is completely worth it, in my opinion. You don't have to agree. I agree. But you go through this letter, and I had conversation with several people in local government about this situation over the past week. And one thing that we've pointed out, as much as this letter says that Union County is in compliance, the one thing that is missing in this letter, it doesn't say that 911 dispatchers are giving this life-saving instruction because they were told they're not allowed. And that makes Union County out of compliance. Letter doesn't say that. It just talks about how much they are in compliance. They're not in compliance. They are breaking state law. I'll even go further. He called the state. Hey, Mr. State, is Union County in compliance? Is E-911 in Union County in compliance by doing what they've done? Well, we've heard about what they've done, and they say they're in compliance. Mr. State official, is Union County in compliance? Again, they say they're in compliance. Mr. State official, will you give me a letterhead and a signature saying that Union County is in compliance by what they have done? Mr. State official tells me, can't do that. I won't do that. Union County is not in compliance. What's that tell you, folks? This is all research I've done, been working on, and other people have been working on it too. I won't say I'm the only one. There's commissioners that are working on it. There's several other individuals that have been working on this E-911 situation since it's happened. Some people are being lied to by other county officials. This letter just proves that fact. Again, I asked the question, okay, how much liability is it if I have to call 911 to a loved one about a loved one and you don't give me these instructions and somebody unfortunately passes away? How much liability is there in that? Well, guess what, folks? That's been happening all over this county. I can tell you at least 3 cases that have happened here in the recent past where that's happened. We are letting our citizens down. We are doing an injustice. We are doing a disservice. It's not right. So I asked, what was the liability in that? Isn't that a bigger liability? To me, it would be. This is serious, folks. You know, I joke around and I laugh and I cut up and all that kind of thing. Not this. This is just too serious. This is talking about risking somebody's life. It's not right. This should burn you up. That very little is thought about a life, that we can't even attempt to save one by giving CPR instructions to somebody that is in desperate need. And you might say, well, you go learn CPR yourself. That's a valid point. Maybe everybody should learn how to do CPR. But when you reach out in your time of need and the most tragic time of your life, and you call 911, because that's what they're there for, they're supposed to help. You call 911 for help, and you're just told ambulance is on the way. I know of a case that a lady has called 911 6 times trying to get help. Got hung up on, told to hold on, ambulance is on the way. That's all I can do. It's not right. Person passed away. Awful. What say you, Stephanie?
So basically they've turned E-911 workers into just basically people who answer the phone. So what, if they're not there to help us, and I know it's not the dispatcher's fault. We can't blame them because they're following their orders or whatever. But if all they're doing is answering a telephone call, why do we need 911 workers in that capacity? If they're not going to offer any emergency assistance, why are we funding it?
Good question. Here's something else I'll say about 911 board. Yeah, you would think that they would have a set of rules or guidelines that the board should be going by. I've asked for these rules, these bylaws. You know what I got told? I don't know if they have any. If they did, they can't find them.
Well, if you remember, many years ago, I did a story on 911. This was when I worked for the UNL. And at that time, their director was very organized. I'm not going to mention the name, but It was around the 2010-ish, 2011-ish time period. And a new director had come in and was really organized and was trying to get those things accomplished. It was after some political meanderings that that individual took another job, left 911. I can tell you, I saw a book, I saw a notebook with many of the things, the guidelines for 911 inside it. Now, I can't remember, it's been a while. I can't remember if it was bylaws, but it was some sort of like protocol that they had there. See? Okay. And it was very organized. Now, I don't know, like I said, what's happened since then, but my concern at that point, and I wrote about this in the newspaper, is you don't have a checks and balance the way it's being run. When you turn something like this is your main communication source in your county. And when you have an elected official that is running that entity, you have a huge conflict of interest because now they're running your communications as well as your sheriff's office. And the sheriff's position is a very powerful one. So the questions I have for the citizens are, what do we need to do to make sure that we have two separate entities? If we're going to keep 911 and they're not just people that answer the telephone, because you can have anyone answer a telephone, and you don't have to. Well, you might have to pay them, of course, but it's not the same thing because they're not operating in an emergency type capacity. They're just answering telephones and dispatching people to a scene. So I guess that's my thing is, why do we have the sheriff over 911? It's already manifesting itself, and pretty much everything, my concerns that I had at the time are now being seen. Now we have a situation where we have an elected official running what was supposed to have been more of an independent entity that is in control of communications and taking care of our emergency situations. So that right there is already, unfortunately, manifesting itself. And I've heard people say, well, you can go after a certain individual there and it'll all be taken care of. And I'm not so sure that's the case. I think there's more than one person that is involved in this breakdown.
Well, I'm not throwing off on Billy by any means. He is the 911 director. He is on the 911 board. His director job, he is not collecting a salary for as being a director. I will say that. He's been the director for several years. They've not hired a director, which is actually a paid position.
Yes.
But again, Billy does not get a salary for that. I don't know why they haven't hired a director, or maybe somebody doesn't want to be. I don't know that answer. County Commission does give 911 board money out of the budget. It's not, again, that they're not the governing body of the 911 board. It's just like, it's basically a donation, just like it is to any other group. Not to compare the two, but just like they donate money to the animal shelter, they donate money to the 911 board or the fire departments. So there's not a, like I said, a governing body by the county, or by county commission for that.
Well, that board,
It's just a very tangled web.
Listen, that board, it's anyone who's worked around 911 can tell you honestly, and you don't have to like me, but I think most your dispatchers would agree that that is a very political area up there. And it has always been that way because it controls the county's information. So whoever is running the show, they may not get a salary. but that's not necessarily what anyone who would want to have, I guess you'd say, some kind of power over. The money is not that necessary. The problem I'm seeing here is a conflict of interest. Is why do we have an elected official running an independent body that should have its own director, its own board? This is the problems that you see happen because you've got this entanglement. And so now you've got this guy telling this guy that they should do it this way when it's contrary to state law. It just doesn't make any sense. And this is the magical question. Why would they not allow dispatchers to give advice when other counties do it? The $1 million question. What are they trying to hide? I mean, I don't understand it. I wish somebody
it doesn't make sense at all. Again, anybody with common sense would know you call 911 and you expect to get some kind of help. It's just what 911's purpose was.
Well, why would you not, as a director, why would you not allow your dispatchers to do their job?
Right. Again, it just doesn't make sense. It's just,
there's more to the story here, obviously.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I've been spending a lot of time investigating and looking into, and I'm not done. But I didn't want, and I called you the other day, and I said we've got to do a podcast. We've got to get this information out there. It's too important of a topic. Again, we're risking lives by doing what we're doing, and it's not acceptable to me.
Well, this affects everyone. This affects every citizen in this county. Anyone who has, I mean, it could be any of us. We could call need an ambulance or have an emergency situation, and then maybe because we're upset or emotional, it's helpful to have someone on the line that can talk with you about what's going on. Okay. I've had a few times in this county, I've had to call 911. It's been a while. We had some elderly family members that we had to call about several times. And, 911 was very helpful. But, can you imagine calling 911 when your loved one is laying there gasping for breath, or a child is choking, or whatever the deal is, and they can't give you any assistance, or they can't talk you through, have you tried this? Have you did this? Giving you pointers that could save a life. I mean, these are just basic practices that they should know. And I'm sure that most of them know. They've been trained to do it. So it's not like they're trying to give you bad advisement. Things that you could do that would possibly help the situation before someone can get there. And I really think people need to go to the 911 meeting. It is a public meeting. I think you all need to voice your concerns and talk to the board and say, hey, we heard that you guys aren't doing any advisement. What's going on, people? And another thing is, when they had their little board meeting and they voted on this, was this a unanimous vote to do this?
I believe it was. Don't hold me to that. I'm pretty sure it was. I didn't go back and watch that meeting again. But I meant to. I just didn't because it made me mad.
So not one board member voted against that action.
So
is that what you're saying?
I believe that's true. Again, like I said, I didn't go back and watch it again, but go back and watch it yourself. I didn't go back and watch it because it made me mad, and I just didn't want to watch it again.
I will take your advisement before we throw anyone under the bus, but I'm going to say this. If everybody just blindly voted in agreement with that without doing any research, that board needs to be totally redone.
I do know that the discussion was rather lengthy. that meeting was like an hour and 15 minutes long, roughly, and like 45, 50 minutes of that was actually that discussion on why they weren't going to do it anymore and that kind of thing. And it was mostly talked about by Andrew, um, and that kind of thing. I don't get it. To answer Miss England, to answer your question there, if you go to the TCA code that we put on the screen, that whole section of that code goes through uh, all the rules and everything for 911, um, and it spells out a lot of what 911 is supposed to do and uh, that kind of thing. Can you put that back on the screen real quick so they can get that number?
If they can see it, depends on their computer. Hold on, let me.
There it is.
Talking about,
It's
I don't know why I
29
can't.
20 108. And that's just a part of it. And then it's 29 20 108. And Miss Amos, is it to get out of training the dispatchers? Well, by the quote unquote sheriff's letter, the dispatchers are still getting trained. That's what he's saying that they're, uh, you know, they're all trained and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The only thing that they're not doing is telling the poor unfortunate soul that has to call 911 for help. That's the only part that they're not doing. So they're still doing the training. Now, another question is, are they actually doing the training and when are they doing the training? That's something, it takes more digging into and that kind of thing. That might open a whole other can of worms. Um, when are they getting trained? How often are they getting trained? That's all stuff that we still got to look into.
Yeah. Miss Amos brings up a really good question. Why were okay? Hold on, let me get back over there. I hit it for myself. Why were our taxes raised for emergency services if we can't even get emergency services? I called for an ambulance the other year and ended up canceling it and driving to the hospital because it was taking too long to get here. Yeah. Yeah, Miss Amos, that's a common complaint.
That's absolutely a common complaint. And that's what I'm saying. If it's going to take so long for an ambulance to get to you and you've only got, minutes when somebody's needing CPR in order to save their lives or things start happening, your brain's got to have oxygen in a certain amount of time. Or you start having unrepairable damage happen to you, those kinds of things. But that absolutely happens on a daily basis. It seems like I know of several cases. I know somebody that their child was having a seizure. Call 911. Ambulance is on the way. It'll get there as soon as it can, and never showed. This person threw their seizing baby in the car and took off to the hospital themselves, was almost to the hospital, and EMS calls and says, hey, where you at? We're here and we can't find you. Well, I'm already almost at the hospital. Y'all took too long. I can even go one further. Let's see. Put it this way. I know of an elected official that called 911 because her husband was having a problem. EMS took forever. Never showed up. Guess what? She had to throw her husband in the vehicle and go to the hospital herself. EMS took too long. After that situation happened, go back and watch some videos, you'll see, because I campaigned on that very thing, if y'all remember. I campaigned that we had to do something about EMS and the service, and and getting an ambulance out to people faster. I campaigned on that, if you remember, and somebody that I ran against didn't agree with me, argued with me until certain situation happened. And then again, go back and watch county commission videos. You'll see after that situation happened, proved me right. And I'm not trying to take credit, but proved me right. All of a sudden, her whole story changed, and she jumped all over EMS that we needed better service, and we had to do something, especially out here in the Big Ridge area. Um, you know, take it for what it's worth, folks. It happens too often. It happens way too often.
There's no better teacher than the actual experience.
Absolutely.
Folks, you know, one of the things that we see in these governments is that they want to tax and tax and tax and levy fees and all this stuff. And isn't it funny that when we're getting taxed to death, our services are decreasing? I mean, I don't know how long this has been deteriorating like this. From my understanding, it's probably been going on for a few years, getting worse and worse. But, you know, it is weird that they want to tax all this money, but yet the citizens, when we need things and we're trying to save the things that we need to prioritize, those are the things that suffer and that get basically put on the back burner. And so I think this is no different than what I'm talking about.
Exactly. And I'm not knocking on any employee doing their job at 911 or EMS. There's lots of good folks that work for EMS and such, and they're doing the best they can. Now, I understand, again, Knox County's having an EMS problem too, because hospitals keep them there way too long before they release them. Because you have to understand, folks, as far as EMS goes, and an EMS worker, if an EMS person, an ambulance picks you up and takes you to the hospital, they are responsible for you as a patient until the hospital actually tells them that they can leave. They can't leave that patient until that hospital releases them and takes over the patient as a patient. And that could take you go to emergency room, and you might wait for hours. It's the same thing. Just because you came in on an ambulance does not mean necessarily that you're going to get treated or service any faster. And them ambulance, that's why they get stuck at the hospital for hours, because the hospital's not releasing them. And Knox County's running into the same issue. Not only that, but Union County EMS has a staffing shortage, and you go through all the reasons why there's a staffing shortage. But it's not the only EMS service that's having staffing shortages. So I'm not knocking any of those folks. I know a lot of them, and a lot of them are great people.
I'm going to say this, and listen. We're too concentrated on building buildings and not paying people what they deserve. And you have inflation eating us alive. And they're paying some of these staff members, what, 12 to 14, maybe $15 an hour if they're maybe a senior member of the staff. Same with the cops. They have to dodge bullets for $13, $14 an hour. You get a job at Burger King for that, right? And they've had all this special training. Why are we not paying our people, especially in emergency services? I'm not talking about the overall government up here. I'm talking about these people that serve the people. They're one of the reasons we lose them is because they're going to other places where they're getting a better salary. It's hard to feed your family on these meager wages. So that's part of the problem. And I'm not a big tax person, but I think our taxes would be better served if you're going to charge we the people taxes, we would rather invest in things that help us, we the people, instead of these big freaking capital projects. Put your money into these people, invest in these folks that work their butts off. They do this training, will get better quality people by doing that, instead of always wanting to build a big shiny object building that is not going to really help us, except to put a freaking name on the side of a building.
I agree, and I know we just had all these, you know, pay increases and all that, and people can hate me if you want to. I don't care. A lot of people hate me anyway, but I don't think that, for instance, a police officer should be paid the same, like you said, the same amount as, say, a secretary. I don't think somebody that's risking their lives every day, whether it's a police officer or EMS worker or whatever, that's actually out there protecting and serving the community, should be making the same as a pencil pusher, or whatever you want to call them. I've always said that was wrong. And it's the same thing, same argument I've heard most of my life is, these baseball, football players out there making millions and millions of dollars, and you got, police officers out here trying to, or having to work 2, 3 extra jobs a week just to make a living. And I just think society has a lot of things backwards.
Well, the services are what we're supposed to be paying our taxes for. So the services
Exactly.
are driven by the service employees and the public servants, the cops, the firefighters, or whatever your county looks like. We want investment in the people, in the things that serve the people, not a bunch of crazy special interests that always overspend, and they do it for the wrong reasons, and they overbuild, they overspend, and then they drive us into, we're not spending our money the best way. And we should be investing in people and resources, not buildings and shiny objects.
Right. Let me tell you something else that I learned. It's kind of separate topic, but I learned this in my speakings with several people is we're already talking about building a new elementary school. So that's going to be coming up in the next few years. The Manorville Elementary is going to be replaced. And that's part of the reason why they are hesitant to do anything with the middle school now. If you've noticed, the conversation has changed. It was, we're going to build it a football field. We're going to change the middle school to courtrooms and county offices and do all this stuff. Well, now it's changed, and it's we're gonna hold off on that because we might just hold on to that building so we can tear it down and build a new Manorville Elementary School on that property. That way we don't have to search for property anymore for a new school.
With this commission, it's all about building big government. I mean, that's really what we're looking at. It's all about building big government, big buildings. There's never any discussion about building business here. There's never any discussion about building the tax base any other way than raising your taxes one way or another. You can call it fees. You can word salad it to death. Property taxes, school taxes, or wheel taxes, or RV fees. It's how come it always comes back to we the people to fund all this stuff? We got 20,000 people, many of which are children at all times. So we really don't have enough people to build and keep up with these big projects, these multi-million-dollar projects. But yet they're going to come back at you if you guys don't get them out of office. They're going to come back at you and say, just like they did last time, and people fell for it. Some people did, hook, line, and sinker. If you don't do this, we're going to tax you here. And you should have told them to take a hike. I had several people tell me, oh, but they said they were going to raise my property taxes. Well, why didn't you grow some and tell them to take a hike? But, you know, it's like, why do people kowtow to these folks? They're not kings. We are not living in a monarchy with oligarchs, but we certainly act like we do. And we act like, you know, if you know the history of 1776 and the American Revolution, King George, it's almost like we've allowed King George to move into our courthouse and tell us what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and then tell us to go shut up, sit down, and be quiet while they continue to pimp us out. I'm tired of it. How about you?
Absolutely. It's a slap in the face every time. And as far as going back to this 911 situation, I'm if that's what little they think about human life, then I think it's time that some folks start asking for some other folks' resignations. Uh, that's just my opinion. Um,
We need people to run for office is what we need.
Yeah,
We need
we need that.
folks,
We
you've got to run.
we need people to actually, care about the citizens of this county. Um, you look at some of those board members, and you look at all the hats they're wearing. When you're wearing so many hats, you can't do a good job at one, let alone 5, 10, however many different hats you're wearing. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with all the conflicts of interest that go on. And you got, employees working for you on the same board that you're on, and you got all this stuff, and you're always going to get the right answer for you when you've got those situations. You got your best friends on the same boards with you. You've got your best buddy you go hang around with. You got all the I just don't understand it. These boards and things are made up to actually work for the people, but they seem like they're just working for certain individuals, and that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and the state, I think it was CTAS, but the state tried to implement these committees on the local level to try to basically say, we want you guys to consider doing committees, so that basically you can have a budget and finance, you can have a jail committee, you can have all these different subcommittees to make the voting in the big commission more like the state, where you have the House and then you have all these committees. But the difference is that on the local level, it doesn't seem to be working as well, because for one, it's hard to keep these little committees accountable, because in Nashville, at least you have a semblance of accountability, even though they don't always do the roll call votes like they should. I don't think they do them. Actually, they gave us the middle finger this past time, but you can at least sort of follow what they're doing. But in our committees, it's almost like, unless it's not publicized, and people don't always go to these little meetings, and then before you know it, they're in county commission voting for something that you're not prepared for, because you couldn't follow the bill, you couldn't follow it through committee. And we've got to do better as a coalition, as our people become more and more involved. We have got to get people to go to these meetings. And I know it's inconvenient. I know everybody works. We all work. We all have things we're trying to do and live life. We all have kids. We all have grandkids. We all have jobs. But we have got to sacrifice, folks, or we're going to lose our county. We are going to lose our county, just like what's happening in our country if we don't get involved right here in Union County and the grassroots level with these committees that are selling us down the road in some cases. We've at least got to keep them accountable. I'm not saying everybody on the commission is doing bad, nefarious things, but what I am saying is we, the people, it's our fault if we don't go to these committee meetings and stop it, as they say in Nashville, kill the bill while it's in committee. It's a lot easier to do it there than to wait till it gets up to the county commission. And then you're sitting there thinking, oh gosh, they're going to vote for this and I'm going to be screwed again. More pimping out. What say you, Jason?
Here's one other thing that I don't understand about a lot of these committees. Why don't we have more citizens on these boards and committees? We have, seems like the same people on almost every committee. You know, you look, you got this commissioner on 5 different committees. You got this other commissioner on. So, and I understand some of the committees have to have certain people on there, like the sheriff has to be on certain committees, like the jail committee, and I understand that. But why don't we have more citizens on? And I'm not talking about your best friends, you know, because the mayor appoints all these boards and all this stuff, right?
It's modeled like Nashville. Nashville doesn't have citizens either. It's modeled like the state model, but the state, it works a little better because it's larger. But when you've got a little small county trying to do this stuff like the state, the corruption can basically get through there a lot easier because now your mayor, you know, not accusing the mayor of anything, but, you know, your mayor, whoever it is, can stack the committees to do the things that the agenda calls for, whatever they're trying to do. So they can put this one over here because they want the jail to be built. They can put this one over here. They want the schools to be built. They can stack it with like-minded people so they get all their accomplishments. And if you had, like you said, if you had citizens in there, it would kind of split that up a little bit and water it down. But they're trying to model this after the big thing, big bureaucracy in Nashville. It might work in Nashville, but it certainly don't work here on the local level.
It's definitely doing a disservice to the community, to the citizens of the community. I'd say if you took that 911 board and you put 2 or 3 different, you know, just citizens on there, just not, you know, buddies on there, you would have had a different outcome when this vote came down.
Well, maybe you would have had someone asking some freaking questions and questioning it instead of just going with along with the flow. And that's a problem that I see with a lot of these folks. They go with the flow because they don't want to make someone mad, or they don't question it because they're intimidated by whoever is the chairman, or, you know, not saying any board or committee here. I'm just saying that that's a problem, is people get scared to speak up.
But during my investigation so far of this 911 board, let me tell you a few other things that I've learned. I've learned that they don't share information with each other. You got certain board members asking questions, wanting information, and never getting it. You've got certain board members that meetings are called and they're not told about, so they don't show up. And then certain board members ask why. We got a meeting tonight? No, we canceled it because they don't want them to show up. It's just mind-boggling, some of the things that I have learned. And the bylaws. No idea. No, don't know where they are. Don't know if we have them. Don't know.
And see, that's another thing right there. If there's no bylaws, there should be no funding, period. There should be bylaws. That should be a requirement for funding. What does that say, you, Jason?
Yeah. Like I said, this, and when I spoke with the mayor the other day. Even I told him this spider web just keeps getting bigger and bigger the more that I've been looking into it. And you know, like I said, I've talked to many people this week, and it's scary some of the things that I'm being told. Um,
How many employees do they have?
how many employees does 911 have?
Is it 6? It used to be.
I'm
I
not
thought it
sure
used to be
currently. I know some of them have left. I know, like Brittany Crawford. She was working 911, but she had to resign. But she's on the 911 board now. I don't know how many employees they actually have currently.
Well, I would say they would need at least 2 to 3 shifts if they're doing it around the clock.
8 full-time, 2 per shift. That's what Michelle Morris
Okay, that's 6 to 8. That's about right. Okay, thank you, Michelle.
But yeah, I know some of these dispatchers, like I said, go against what they're being told, and I know some of them have, bought note cards or are on their own or wrote out instructions or what have you on their own, and have been trying to help citizens as much as possible. And again, I'm not throwing off on any of these dispatchers or EMS workers or any of those that are just trying to do the right thing.
It's not their fault. It's
Right.
not the dispatcher's fault. It's their administration that's over them. You guys, my hats are off to you. You got a tough situation there, and I hope that the people in this county can somehow corral them around. This is almost like a rogue situation.
Well, again, when the state tells you that they're doing wrong, but yet they're telling the state they're doing right, that just boggles my mind. It's just, and I do know that.
Well, there is an answer.
I do know that some of the commissioners have reached out to the state and asked the state to come up with some kind of slap them on the hand and say you've got to do this, or come down here and look at what policy they need, or I know there's some things I just can't say at the moment.
What happened?
But there's things being done to try to remedy this situation. It's just that I'm afraid of at what cost of life that it might happen to cost before something actually changes. That kind of thing. That's my worry.
Well, the citizens will support the dispatchers. We are with you guys, and I know there are many of you, like I understand, that are trying to do a good job and do what you know is right. And hats off to you for having the courage to do that. And it's hard being in those situations. I have been an employee for people that I didn't agree with, people that I thought were doing terrible management practices, and but I loved my job and I loved what I was doing. And you guys are in that. You're very special because it's one of the reasons you do that, because you like helping people. Well, at least that's what I hope you are doing. If you're a people person like myself, you love people and you want to help people. And when someone ties your hand behind your back and says, well, we want you to help people up to a point, and then you can't do what you're supposed to do and what you really signed up to do, that's very frustrating. So if we can help you guys in any way, we are there. And when I say we, I don't mean just Jason and I mean the coalition, the people in our group, in our movement. We're there to help. We want you guys to be successful. We want you guys to be able to do your job and for us to be able to have the kind of service that our community deserves and with the life saving and all the things that you all contribute to.
And I'll even go as far as to say, we invited some folks to come on the podcast to explain their side, and we were refused.
Well, we were told that by one of the people that they were not going to answer it, that it would be up to the sheriff. That basically the sheriff was the one that was responsible for the calling or the calls. Well, when I mean calls, I don't mean 911 calls. I mean for the shots for 911, that he would be the person that would be representative of 911 and the voice of 911. And I have not reached out to him as of yet. And because he is Jason, he is the director, correct?
The sheriff is, yes.
Yeah. So, Miss Beeler, the sheriff is actually the director.
She says the director of EMS, which is, she's correct. But he is not the director of the 911 board.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. But, we the people, we have to go to these meetings, and we can go to the 911 meetings. I've been to them many times in the past. It's been about a decade when I was involved more heavily with the 911. There was some things going on at that time that I, as a reporter, had to cover. And so you can go in there and ask questions when they have their board meetings. It's wide open to the public. So these are, I'm not sure when they're scheduled. If Miss Morris is on the horn there and she wants to give us some dates, we'd love it. We can maybe have a crew of us show up.
Andrew, as far as 911 board goes, Andrew is the finance director of 911. So he takes care of the money side, and Billy's the director of the board, and the chairman of that board, his name just escaped me, but there's a different chairman of the board. And then Brittany is the vice chair of that board. She was just elected to that position.
Well, that's the other thing, that if there's dispatchers listening, you all can talk to those board members too and let them know your thoughts on this, because, you know, the morale in these little places like this is very important to the success of your group there. So, you know, talk to those board members and let them know your thoughts. Don't be afraid to talk to them. That's what they're there for. But they're also there for the ear of the people. And we, the people, are going to speak up about this. We have to. We have no choice, because this is our people we're talking about. This is the health of our community that could be compromised.
Exactly. It's just a very, very scary thing. I just hope we get it fixed, and that's my concern. And to some people, it might not be a big deal, but a life or a possibility of risking a life is a big deal to me. Miss Beeler, just to clarify, I agree with you. Andrew Reed is the director of EMS. Billy is the director of 911. And Andrew is the finance director of 911. I think I said that right. I've been going too long. We've been on this podcast too long. My brain's fried.
Yeah, we've almost caught up with the guys that stay on there for a half day. It's a good thing I don't work tomorrow.
Hey, Dan Bongino does 2 hours podcast, 3 hours on the radio, 5 hours. Miss Beeler, It says he needs to be fired. Several people, including several commissioners, have asked for his resignation in the past. Mr. Brantley's one of those. I know, but I don't know the answer there.
Well, I think there's, I don't know what we want to say, but I think there's definitely some problems there with the power hierarchy. And I think that's one of the reasons that the situation remains the same.
Right. Can't keep putting stuff in and expecting a different outcome.
That's right. But I did,
I almost used a different word, but
yeah. In all fairness, I did invite the individual that we're talking about. I did invite Mr. Reed onto our podcast, and he declined and said that he would rather the sheriff talk with us. And I'm not sure he'll talk with us actually, but we would like to go to the next 911 meeting just so we can listen to what's going on. And although they've already voted for it, they can also be pressured through time to reverse that vote. I mean, what goes up can come back down. So, but the people have to get involved, and the dispatchers and everybody involved in this have to get involved to push back.
That's exactly right. But folks, y'all need to out there, y'all need to take part. Y'all need to call your county commissioners. You need to call the mayor. You need to call those 911 board members. You need to put pressure on everywhere you can put pressure on, and tell them that you disagree, and that you expect more from your county officials. You expect more for your life of yourself and your loved ones.
Well, you're paying taxes for this, folks. And what do you do with a company when you don't like the service they're delivering to you? You stop buying from them. But in this case, you have forced taxation and less services. And like we said, it's not the dispatcher's fault. It's the people in charge. And so how to fix that? Put the pressure on. Go to the 911 meetings. We'll find out when those meetings are. I don't know if Miss Morris is still on here, but we will find out when the next 911 meeting is. And hopefully we can get a little group to go up there and sit in on that meeting and ask some questions. And also your county commission, keep the pressure on them as well by warming those seats at county commission, folks. You don't make changes just sitting at home. You've got to get out and become activists. And I'm not saying show up at a building with a sign all the time. That's not always the best way to do it. Sometimes the best way to do it is to show up in person and talk to your elected officials about the issues that matter the most.
That's it. And that's all I have. You got anything else?
So remember, if you are interested in going to the Lincoln Day dinner with our group, and we're going to get a table there. How much was the tickets there, Jason? $37.50?
I believe so. I believe that's how it shakes out.
We got already 3 tickets gone. We got 5 left. It's a first come, first served table. So if you want to go, I'd like to hear from you by this Friday, no later than this coming Friday, that you're committed to go because we've only got a few. So if you'd like to go, you and your spouse or you and a friend, just contact me. I have put my information there. Or you can just message the Freedom Coalition and we'll make sure we get in touch with you and meet up with you to get the ticket money. And I've got cats going crazy in here.
All right. With that being said,
and don't forget,
pray for me, I'll pray for you. God bless you. Pray everybody tomorrow when you go to church for me. I'd greatly appreciate it. I need all the help I can get. But hope you have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. See you Tuesday if you're coming with us. I'm going, so we'll see you on the bus ride.
Yeah, be sure you reach out to me ahead of time so I know you're going to be there. God bless everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you and good night.